With the new information that we just had breaking, the FAA says the government shutdown has led to strains. Basically, that means 40 U.S. airports are going to see a 10% reduction in flights starting later this week or this weekend. And of course, that could have an impact on SeaTac International Airport. We don't know which 40 U.S. airports it could be, but obviously you assume at that number, flights coming in or going out from SeaTac will be affected if the airport itself isn't affected. So we, of course, will be tracking this, and if we can get any update on that, we will let you know. But the Secretary of Transportation is saying that they don't expect to release a list until tomorrow. I guess that means it's potential. There is potential that individual airports could put out information ahead of that. We will have to wait and see. In the meantime, we haven't had a chance to check in with meteorologist Alona McCauley. She will be here coming up at 2:30. But in the meantime, I want to hand things off to our Northwest Weather podcast, just a portion of it, kind of a highlight. So if you like this type of coverage, I want to remind you, you can catch this at YouTube and other places, including the Fox Local Live app. Let's listen to meteorologist Brian McMillan talking with meteorologist Abby Coney and Adam Gerke.
Their headlines right now. Woo. And we have a storm today, another one coming tomorrow. Breezy wind. We got the rain. We got a chance for thunderstorms. We got mountain snow up in the highest elevations. We got some big waves out along the coast. So let's get into it here. And I want to start with, let's talk about what's happening. Why is it so wet today? Abby, take it away.
Yes. Okay. So today it's not necessarily an atmospheric river, but there's still a lot of juice and moisture with the system. The steady rain this morning is from a warm front, and then on its heels we'll have a cold front that will ultimately dissipate overhead later, but it is going to be strong enough to bring us really torrential rain.
Yeah.
If you thought the rain was heavy this morning, just you wait. It's going to be blustery later, and then some thunderstorms. And what's so interesting, Brian, is the severe thunderstorm chance too. But
yeah, that's for the Oregon coast. Yes, and for the Willamette Valley and even the Portland metro area too. So they have the marginal risk of severe thunderstorms down there. Yeah. Still very, very small risk for actual tornadoes. But when we get this kind of system rolling through this time of year, we have seen them. We have seen funnels. Yeah. We've seen even tornadoes drop down as well. So it's going to be a really wet time period here coming up. We are looking at potential for over an inch of rain coming up over the next 2 days. Wow. So we got that going for us. Everybody getting involved, even folks east of the Cascades. So if you're out towards Wenatchee and Yakima, even though we're into November, we could say fire season's over and all of that, but they need the rain anyway out that direction. We would love to see some snow, but those snow levels are still a little bit on the higher side. As far as our coastline goes, we are now under a coastal flood warning.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean? Well, we already have high tide happening. In fact, we have king tides happening right around now.
They begin today, the 5th, and for the westernmost portion of the state.
Yes.
As we continue into the weekend to the 7th, this is the Mariner speaking here. As we continue to the 7th, we start seeing them come inland.
Yes.
And those really, really high tides hit the south end of Puget Sound the most, where we see really big king tides.
And we've seen this before when a storm hits and then we get the king tides. That can be nasty, right?
Perfectly ill-timed.
Yes, really bad timing. And that's what we're seeing on the coast. I'm not too terribly worried about inland here coming up this weekend because the weather calms down. But when you bring in those king tides and then you have a storm and you're getting those really huge waves and then you have the extreme high tides, that's when we get flooding, right?
Yeah. It's going to honestly... If you have the ability and from a very safe distance can watch the waves,
yes,
it is going to be utterly photogenic.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, keep the healthy distance, people.
Exactly. You can storm watch from a distance, right? So high surf advisory on the Long Beach Peninsula. We got that coastal flood warning for pretty much everybody north up into Washington along the coastline. All right. On top of that, we have a winter weather advisory. This is for the northern Washington Cascades. So this area, we're talking up there near Mount Baker. We could see a lot of snow, 6 to 12 inches, but below that, it's just going to be all rain for Snoqualmie Pass and even down towards Stevens and White and Blewett passes.
The Mount Baker Highway's been seeing its traction tires advised for the last several days pretty consistently. The other passes haven't seen as much. White Pass actually saw quite a bit the other day, but even then, as of today, they reined things back. Now, this can always, of course, change on a dime with us, but that was kind of significant that I noticed that both Stevens and Mount Baker Highway both come in with those traction tires advised pretty consistently now.
And we're going to be seeing more of that over the next, few weeks here as the weather continues to get cooler. The snow levels drop typically more and more as the, month of November goes on. So today it's going to be, that warm air arrived, okay, followed by a cold front. Behind that cold front, you get those scattered showers. That's what can be real heavy, right, Abby? Or that's when we see those heavy downpours rolling through. And that'll be happening all afternoon. So chance of thunderstorms. This is one of those situations, if you don't like the weather for, wait 15 minutes and then the heavy shower passes and then maybe you'll be dry for a little bit of time.
That's right. It's like an unpredictable relationship. You just don't know what's coming next, and you're just bracing for impact.
That's right. You're waiting. Whoa, when's the next bad thing happening?
This is a toxic relationship with the weather. Okay.
That's exactly right. And then tomorrow you get some clearing in the relationship for at least the first half of the day. And then sure enough, Mother Nature gives us a 1-2 punch, and this is punch number 2 coming up here on Thursday afternoon. I like this analogy, by the way.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting about tomorrow is that tomorrow there is a little bit more of the atmospheric river signature on the water vapor. Today, the train of moisture isn't as long.
Yeah.
And it's also fascinating to look. I mean, this is a totally separate system.
Yep.
Tomorrow.
2 different ones.
So it's just like we can't get a break from the toxicity. So, but this weekend, we're gonna stabilize that relationship. So that's gonna be better.
That's right. We're going into therapy and stabilizing the relationship heading into the weekend.
That's when we bust out the leaf blowers and the rakes, because then everything that will have come down from this last week will then be now like manageable. Well, it probably won't be manageable. There's probably going to be a metric ton of it. But this weekend is when we have to scoop it up.
Clear the drains. Clear the drains, people. Yes, let's get into our 7-day forecast here as we move ahead. Your weekend actually looks really good. So this will be, as Adam said, a good opportunity. Get your booties out there and clear those storm drains, pick up the leaves. Showers return early next week. On top of that, a lot of you have been asking us about winter. What does this winter look like, and what are we looking like up in the mountains in particular? Because a lot of people buy their ski passes. Did you guys buy ski passes this year?
About to.
You're gonna?
About
Okay. So this year looking like a weak La Nina winter, at least here through February. So this is what we're looking at. What do we mean when we talk about La Nina? Well, La Nina means the ocean down towards the, down in the tropics is cooler than average. So, we're talking we're talking minuscule temperature differences here sometimes, maybe up to a couple of degrees cooler, but usually not even that cool, only a little bit. But it can have a huge impact on our weather pattern, Abby.
Isn't that so interesting? So when we're talking about cool waters near the equatorial Pacific, here in North America, it pushes the jet stream super far north, and it puts it closer to the Pacific Northwest. So the jet stream more directly overhead, and that means that's the parade of storms. So that's why we tend to see wetter, cooler weather during a La Nina pattern.
That's right. It's kind of aimed right at us, right? So wetter typically, cooler typically. It doesn't mean the whole winter is going to be like that, but on average and overall, we're wetter and cooler. So that's good news for the mountains, right?
Yes.
Usually means lower snow levels. And so those lower ski resorts, like Snoqualmie, for instance, loves La Nina winters. It doesn't have as much of a big impact on the higher resorts, but it does certainly on the lower resorts.
I know. Isn't that interesting? I got my Snoqualmie pass last year because of that versus Stevens, but still it wasn't a major winter season, I would say.
Yeah.
For a lot of it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes.
Do we ever have a season?
Fingers.
Do we ever have a winter where it's not El Nino or La Nina? It's just winter.
It's called neutral. Yes.
Oh, we do.
Neutral. Yes.
It was. I feel
That's
like
a great question.
It's been for maybe the last 20, maybe 30 years. I've been hearing the El Nino, La Nina. But as a kid, I remember it's winter.
And there's certain degrees of La Nina, El Nino, right? So that it can be. This is a weak La Nina. So the temperatures in the water down there in the equatorial Pacific and the eastern Pacific are just slightly cooler, okay, as opposed to much cooler, right? Significantly cooler. And then you can go the same direction with El Nino as well. Okay. So what we're looking forward to in the Puget Sound lowlands, I wanted to take a look at this as well.
This is great.
Odds of at least seeing some lowland snow is there, okay? But there's no guarantees for a snowy winter. However, I did a peek back here on the last 10 La Nina winters, including, actually it should say 2024 to 2025 there on that top one. But a couple of inches, last year. We saw over a foot in 2020, 2021.
Gosh.
We saw almost a foot back in 2016, 2017, 2011, 2012. And we saw almost 2 feet in the 2008, 2009 winter. So we've seen big snow in at least half of the last 10 La Nina winters. That tells me, yeah, you could probably get a few snow days out of the mix there, kids. I'm hoping for, maybe 10 inches total for the whole winter is pretty fun. You get a few snow days.
Point.
We'll see what happens, but it happens half the time.
Any more than that, you have some very burnt out meteorologists in Seattle. But we got you. We're ready.
We can handle it. We got you. We're going to have a lot more on La Nina as we, get, over the next few weeks and as we get a little closer to winter when we can actually call it winter. And we'll have fun with that. You're talking about the mountains and maybe chances of lowland snow. So stick with our podcast because we'll break down all of that for you.
All right, that is the Northwest Weather Podcast. You can get that anywhere where you get your podcasts, including the Fox 13 Seattle YouTube page or the Fox Local Live app. Just make sure you are selecting Seattle as your location. Yes, if you're a transplant, you can check out weather and news at your local spots where you may have grown up and then flip back over to us. It's pretty fantastic and for free. I wasn't even told to pitch that today, but just want to let you guys know. Meanwhile, we of course will be getting a better idea of what our local weather picture is tonight and moving forward. Fox 13 meteorologist Alona McCauley will be joining us a little bit later in our show, roughly 25 minutes here, and she'll give you an idea of what we're dealing with as you look outside. It is looking ominous right now. We'll be back after a commercial break. Welcome back into the Fox Local Live Desk. Once again, we got that live look at SeaTac International Airport. 2 reasons. One, it is looking hazy, wet, and gray out there. No real concerns I'm seeing as far as cancellations or delays, but as we brought you that breaking news just a little bit ago, that is going to be changing soon. We do know, according to the FAA, that just due to the amount of folks that are calling off sick, remember those federal workers, including people with those critical jobs inside of the watchtowers, more and more are calling in sick. Secretary Duffy says a lot of these folks can go without a paycheck. When you start getting into 2 or more, that becomes less and less tenable. So we do not know whether or not that will affect Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. I was just on a feed in our newsroom. Folks are already reaching out to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport to see if they may have more information. The federal government noting they won't be announcing the list until tomorrow, but that's 40 American cities that we are expecting to reduce their flights by 10%. So this is going to have a cascading effect across lots of airports, whether or not we see, for instance, Seattle-Tacoma International involved. All of this linked back to the government shutdown, now the longest in American history at 36 days. So we have been asking you, and you guys have been responding. How concerned are you about potential disruptions to your travel plans? 51% of you now saying you are highly concerned. The only folks that are basically saying no are those that are not concerned. That's about a quarter of people, but more and more people saying they are worried about what comes next here. And of course, this is on top of everything we've already been reporting on with SNAP benefits, and we will be talking about this government shutdown coming up at 3:15 with Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland. She will be joining our show live. In the meantime, I want to hand you off to some of the stories that our reporters right here at Fox 13 Seattle have been working on the past couple of days. This is what we affectionately call the feed, stories filed once again by our local reporters.
Let's use the Ballard Food Bank, for example. When are those dollars going to get right here? According to DSHS, those millions of dollars doled out by the state, they're right now in flux. They don't have a concrete timeline, but the goal is to have them done by this week, the 1st of November. As for that $1 million weekly pledge from the city of Seattle, the newfound one, the mayor's office tells me selected organizations like food banks and meal programs, they can begin making purchases this week with reimbursements next week. Now, if you're seeing all this here behind you and wondering what happens when I come to a place like the food bank, what do I do with the groceries I'm given? We've got an answer for that as well. And for that, we have brought in Erica Bigelow from Seattle's Child magazine. She's a mom with all the helpful tips for us. So one thing you want to suggest to folks is actually in the palm of their hand, and it's for anyone looking to kind of maximize what they might be getting from the food bank mixed with what they already have in the pantry.
Yes, absolutely. So there are apps out there that you can find that will do this also. But one thing that has become so easy is ChatGPT, and it's, you know, pretty much at our fingertips, right? And what I've been seeing online is that people are putting in those odd things that they have in the back of their pantries and in their freezers, and they're saying, what can we make with this? And ChatGPT is coming up with simple recipes that you can then augment with something you get from the food bank or the grocery store and create these recipes that are nutritious.
So I'm sure a lot of our viewers are also familiar with little free libraries or pantries, but there is another suggestion that could help people during this time.
Yes, there are also little free community fridges, and they aren't as plentiful as the little free pantries and the libraries that you see around the neighborhoods, but they are around Seattle, and you can actually Google a map for them, and it will show you. And there's a map out there also through Instagram that you can find for the pantries, and you can find where these fridges are. And these are a great way to be able to get some food when you need it, because they're open basically all the time. So I know that the food banks have limited hours sometimes, and they also have long lines sometimes these days. And so these are another great option, and also a super good way for the neighbors to be able to say, oh, I have extra food, and I can go ahead and put it in this little, free fridge, this community fridge, and people can claim it when they need it. And I have one more idea. So in your neighborhood, there is usually a Facebook group for a neighborhood. And on these Facebook groups, what I am seeing a lot of is neighbors really wanting to help their neighbors. And so they are making extra. They're doing double batches of soup, double batches of lasagna, and they're just putting it out there on the Facebook group saying, does anyone need some? And if they have leftovers they bring home from the store or from a restaurant, they're doing the same thing. So if you can join your neighborhood group, your neighborhood Facebook group specifically, you're going to be seeing some of these things on there too.
That's a really great tip.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, the Huskies came back from their week off as a ranked team, number 24 in the most recent AP poll. They're looking to improve on that rank and hopefully impress the playoff committee in another road test, this time in Madison, Wisconsin. Known as one of the hardest places to play in all of college football, the environment at Camp Randall Stadium will no doubt challenge this Husky team. But this is a Wisconsin squad that has struggled all year. They are 0-5 in conference play and haven't won a game in almost 2 months. Their struggles start on the offensive side of the ball as they've been shut out in back-to-back home games and average just 12 points per contest. But they are much more competitive on the defensive side of the ball. Head coach Jed Fish is looking for a bounce-back performance on the road from his offense after putting up just 7 points against Michigan a few weeks ago.
We certainly understand the task at hand. We know that it is has always been one of the best defenses in college football in the Big Ten. We know we've got to be on our P's and Q's and be locked in and ready to roll.
Really executing at a high level. It really always comes back to that, not getting influenced by the outside circumstances Wisconsin's good enough. We got to go out and execute against them and do a good job of blocking them and getting open and throwing the ball and all the things that it takes to win. Trying not to let some of the outside things influence us as best we can.
Not only will the Huskies be fighting the crowd noise, they'll also have to deal with the weather. Rain and near freezing temperatures are in the forecast for Saturday in Madison, so taking care of the ball will be key. One group that is looking forward to the challenge is Carver Willis and the offensive line, as the Dogs will most likely lean on them and Jonah Coleman on the ground.
Like, the more your team relies on you, I think that's kind of what, O-line's about. Cool, put it on us, we'll handle it. That's awesome. So you get more excited about, we're going to run the ball. Heck yeah. That's going to be us. We'll manage that. So I don't know if it's, getting mentally prepared as much as it is controlling excitement.
The Huskies come into this one looking to eclipse their win total from 1 year ago and improve to 7-2. And with a marquee matchup looming to end the regular season with number 6 Oregon, their playoff hopes are not dead yet. But it all starts with taking care of business on the road on Saturday in Madison. Kickoff set for 1:30 p.m. From Husky Stadium, Ethan McReynolds, Fox 13 Sports.
We are in Seattle, which is arguably not a tropical climate.
Coral reefs and sandy flats are a far cry from our kelp forests and rocky coast. But what's happening here on the shores of chilly Elliott Bay will make a profound difference an ocean away.
We're talking about areas surrounding Indonesia, Papua New Guinea.
What's called the Coral Triangle, home to a curious-looking shark, the likes of which you've never seen in Puget Sound.
So Oatmeal and Cuda are Indo-Pacific leopard sharks. Cuda's spots are much less distinctive, and he has less of them. Oatmeal's spots are much more distinctive.
You're looking at two of the Seattle Aquarium's most adorable residents. And odds are if you've visited the Ocean Pavilion, you've spotted them swimming gracefully amongst their neighbors. The bowmouth guitarfish, the eagle rays. But what you can't see here in the windows is what happens before doors open, and that is breakfast.
Each one of our animals has a diet set out for the day.
What senior aquarist Kelly Douglas is in charge of serving up is certainly not what she scarfed down before heading to work.
My bagel and peanut butter is probably not something they would want, and I don't think I would want this as my breakfast either.
Some days it's lobster, others it's shrimp.
So today they're getting some squid.
Removing beaks by hand, meticulously measuring each gram, she notes, Oatmeal eats less than Cuda. But hey, a girl can eat.
She's a food anytime girly. They like their snacks and they like their naps, and I think both of those things call to me.
Each morning, like clockwork, Kelly steps out above the staggering 360,000-gallon waters below for an a la carte unlike any other.
This is their feeding platform, and basically this is a flat place for them to come up and target to.
Oh my gosh, she's right up already.
As you can see, they know where they're supposed to be. We have this bell that we ring under the water, and that is their indication that we're starting the session. The red and white thing I'm holding is their target. It's about time to eat. Usually a feeding takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. It is really fun to be able to see them up close every day. By doing the training that we do with them, it allows us to gain a familiarity with the animals and be able to tell if they're stressed or need a break.
Because the reality is, this species is fragile, struggling. In the wild, they may call paradise home, but their time there has been anything but.
That was Fox 13's Lauren Donovan reporting on the attempt to repopulate endangered sharks here in our own city. Pretty fantastic work that we're seeing done here locally. We're going to take a short commercial break, but before we do, just want to remind you, you can weigh in on our poll on that breaking news about the potential of a 10% reduction at airports around the country, including many that we utilize.
Standing near the intersection where Michelle Reese lost her son, Robert Fleeks Jr., she says she can still feel his presence.
Last week I came up here and I prayed.
On September 17th, Seattle police say Robert was shot and killed in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. Michelle says her son was in the area getting pizza when that happened.
I'm emotional, I'm upset, also grateful to God, but at the same time, I'm definitely grieving and hurt.
She told Fox 13 there are 4 people suspected of being involved in her son's murder, but more than a month later, and she says there are still no arrests.
It's very, very unsettling, and it doesn't make me feel safe. It doesn't make my family feel safe.
As she waits for answers, she remembers the happier times and moments like this.
He had a smile that would, really light up a room.
And the moments to come as Robert was expecting a child. It will be a moment he sadly will miss.
He's full of love, very much a leader.
Until then, all Michelle wants is justice for her son.
My son is a human. He is a person. He belongs to a whole bunch of family. He is connected. No one deserves to lose their life for no reason at all.
Shira Matsuzawa, Fox 13 News.
Here's the most important date in KCPQ history in my mind. May 9th, 1991. Bon Marché at Bellevue Square. A little actor named Luke Perry appears there.
Oh, right.
They expect maybe 500 people will show up. 3,000 kids, girls show up. 5 people are injured. They have to sneak him out of the Bon Marché in a laundry hamper. That's you can get good ratings and everything, but that's a sign that you've tapped into some cultural zeitgeist, and that's what this station was doing back in 91.
So our longtime production manager, Keith Bright, who just retired last week, was the guy who had the great idea to get Luke Perry to jump into the hamper. This is the only way we're going to get you out of here in one piece. So another great thing that Keith did. Okay, so by the mid-'70s, the station was, hit some hard times. It was bought in bankruptcy by the Clover Park School District. The letters became KCPQ, which, by the way, stand for Clover Park Quality. Now, we saw the 1980 relaunch of Q13. What were folks watching back then on Q13? Because I think both you and I were. Right?
It was an independent station, so no network affiliation, so reruns of things. But what they tapped into brilliantly, especially for the early 80s, is becoming the Northwest Movie Channel. And they would do like Clint Eastwood Week. Every night at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, there'd be some Clint Eastwood movie. I remember watching with my high school friends, tuning in all those different programs. And because, you could go to the rent a VCR tape and everything, or if you had cable TV, because KCPQ kind of bridges a gap between the era of television only by antenna and cable TV by being this alternate source of local news and reruns and films in a way that we kind of take for granted now when there are so many choices. In the era when there weren't as many choices, this gave you a sense that you had a choice.
Right, and what we're watching right now, the Lenny Wilkens Show from 1980. So this was the year after the Sonics won the championship, and this was like a weekly variety show that was co-hosted by Lenny Wilkens, who, obviously one of the great sports icons of our area. Let's get into when Fox took over and became an entity on the national landscape. KCPQ was one of the first stations to become a full-on Fox affiliate, and Fox really did change the TV landscape and the media landscape.
Yeah, because up until then it had been ABC, NBC, CBS. Those were the big powerhouses. People had tried before to break into the market, create a fourth network. Fox is successful. They kind of do it one night at a time. I think Thursday was when they first started programming stuff like 90210 or 21 Drum Street or Melrose Place. They kind of built it night by night and built a schedule out and added a news department and sports and kind of mimicked all these things that the other big networks have been doing for years, but did it incrementally in a smart way and gave people just an alternative choice, something to watch other than what we'd been watching for, at that point, 30 years on network TV. So the timing was fabulous.
And so in 1997, Channel 13 moves to Seattle into the building we're in now, originally producing a 30-minute newscast once a day at 10 p.m. And that was a big deal. And now Fox 13 produces 11 hours of news every day, maybe even more than that. Plus Fox 13 Plus, the Fox local streaming app. The amount of content creation is incredible, and the TV landscape has totally changed.
The landscape's changed, but the same idea, same basic idea of a camera and local people who can talk and look nice, and you can sort of identify with them and be kept company by this sense of local community. Good television makes you feel like you're part of something that's more than just an information source. If you want news, you can look at your phone, you can look online, whatever. But if you want that connection to community, it's TV stations that commit to live and local programming. You guys have tons of live and local programming, more than anybody, I think. And that just gives you a sense of who your neighbors are.
find that will do this also. But one thing that has become so easy is ChatGPT, and it's, you know, pretty much at our fingertips, right? And what I've been seeing online is that people are putting in those odd things that they have in the back of their pantries and in their freezers, and they're saying, what can we make with this? And ChatGPT is coming up with simple recipes that you can then augment with something you get from the food bank or the grocery store and create these recipes that are nutritious.
So I'm sure a lot of our viewers are also familiar with little free libraries or pantries, but there is another suggestion that could help people during this time.
Yes, there are also little free community fridges, and they aren't as plentiful as the little free pantries and the libraries that you see around the neighborhoods, but they are around Seattle, and you can actually Google a map for them and it will show you. And there's a map out there also through Instagram that you can find for the pantries, and you can find where these fridges are. And these are a great way to be able to get some food when you need it because they're open basically all the time. So I know that the food food banks have limited hours sometimes, and they also have long lines sometimes these days. And so these are another great option, and also a super good way for the neighbors to be able to say, oh, I have extra food and I can go ahead and put it in this little, free fridge, this community fridge, and people can claim it when they need it. And I have one more idea. So in your neighborhood, there's usually a Facebook group for a neighborhood. And on these Facebook groups, what I am seeing a lot of is neighbors really wanting to help their neighbors. And so they are making extra. They're doing double batches of soup, double batches of lasagna, and they're just putting it out there on the Facebook group saying, does anyone need some? And if they have leftovers they bring home from the store or from a restaurant, they're doing the same thing. So if you can join your neighborhood group, your neighborhood Facebook group specifically, you're going to be seeing some of these things on there too.
That's a really great tip.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Hundreds streamed through the doors here Saturday in order to get their feline fix. I brought along my press kit T, Athena, in order to get a feline perspective on why this conference is the cat's meow.
Strutting through the convention in a backpack or book bag is my favorite way to check out the sights and sounds of CMeow 2025.
I think she's probably the ideal kitty correspondent.
As a cat correspondent with a keen eye for a story and a sweet personality, I get the celebrity treatment.
I'm very impressed with Athena. She has a lot of poise. She's showing real cat grace. She's very fancy. Yeah, and she really knows how to rock that little bag.
In fact, cats like me are everywhere, here in strollers and on shoulders, some more friendly than others.
A little grumpy.
One of the perks for cats like me, getting pats from new friends like Ellie Beck.
Cats are really unique, and they have really different perspectives from humans.
I also like to peruse the more than 90 vendors who sell cat toys, art, and crafts.
We're making fast friends.
Meowching coordinator and artist Braden Duncan owns Clockwork Art.
And my cats do help with the process.
She paints cats on merch that look just like me.
These guys are all traditional watercolor.
Her bags are a perfect fit for felines on the go.
There we go. Kitten tested, kitten approved.
There's also plenty of music and entertainment.
Sterling Trap King, he's one of our MCs, and we've got Nathan the Cat Lady.
A human cat tree also allows people to feel like a feline.
You can go and pretend to be a cat and climb around a pirate ship.
Duncan says 10 to 15% of door proceeds go to the rescue community, and crowds here happily line up to meet adoptable cats.
We have 5 different booths full of kitten cuddle puddles.
In its 4th year, organizers hope for another cat-tastic celebration in 2026.
We keep expanding, so as many cats and as many humans as we can fit in here, the better.
You may even see me here again as well. In Seattle, Athena, your cat correspondent, signing off for Fox 13 News.
Surveillance video from behind the Shell gas station on 15th Avenue North shows 2 men acting suspiciously enough that a King County Sheriff's deputy assigned to Shoreline started watching them.
2 males dressed in all black, face masks on. Just waited for a car to leave, and then they just jumped up the fence to go behind the gas station, so I'm trying to see if we got a robbery getting ready to go on or not.
The video appeared to show them waiting for the coast to clear.
So they're peeking around the southwest corner. Still with face mask on, in between the gas station and the fire department.
They took off when they spotted an incoming patrol car. The deputy moved in to contact them as they walked away from the store and saw they'd removed their masks.
Hey guys, how's it going? Can you take your hands out of your pockets? Yes, yes. Oh, what's going on tonight?
Man, we're chilling. What's up?
Let's chill it? Okay. Where are you guys coming from? Where are you guys coming from?
We're down the street.
Coming from down the street?
Yeah.
Or going down the street?
Yeah. It's the top of your head. Do it now.
The sheriff's office blurred their faces in this video. They were identified, though, as Dylan Munsell and Xavier Glenn, both 20 years old.
I'm behind the gas station. Bruh, what does that look like? Like you're about to rob, right?
They denied they were criminals, but the cuffs went on when deputies discovered firearms stashed behind the Shell station.
We've located a gun over here. There's a Glock handgun on the backside of the gas station. They got 2 firearms on the backside of the gas station.
Deputies arrested them for attempted robbery in the first degree and unlawful possession of a firearm in the first degree.
Well, hi there, everyone, from the Fox Local Live Desk. I'm meteorologist Ilona McCauley. Hope you're having a great day. It is wet outside. We've got a lot of standing water on some of the area roadways, so just make sure you are driving for these very wet conditions. The winds are starting to pick up around the coastal regions, as well as some thunderstorms that we've been tracking for a few hours earlier this afternoon. I want to take a live look outside right now. Here's currently a look from the Queen Anne cam. You can see the dark skies off in the distance there. We've had a few showers that have been pushing through the Seattle metro locations. Temperatures right now 59 degrees. This is not a particularly cold storm. This is, of course, tapping into some of that subtropical moisture coming in, of course, from the South Pacific, and that's going to be some very warm, moist air coming in from areas close to Hawaii. So hence why we're looking at those temperatures in the upper 50s, low 60s. But the atmosphere has been very, very wet. As you can see, we are getting some moderate to heavy downpours of rain stretching from about Silverdale all the way southward. So right now the rain has let up just temporarily in Seattle, but the next batch is already on our doorstep. Zooming out a little bit more, you can see some very heavy downpours of rain there, stretching, as we mentioned, all the way down into Olympia and Centralia. The coastal regions getting a little bit of a break right now, but you can see at the very beginning of that radar scan some of those lightning bolts. We are getting reports earlier today of some cloud to ground lightning, as well as some small hail that was reported. Some of that thunderstorm activity has also started to slide its way southward into the northern Oregon coastline. So this is a look out at La Push. Take a look at those waves. So we are also looking at the potential for coastal flooding. So coastal flood warnings are in effect from now officially 7 o'clock this morning until 10 p.m. tomorrow. Moderate to major flooding is possible around the north and central part of the coastline here in Washington. We could be talking about 2 to 3 feet of water above ground. High tides along with some of that storm surge is why we're seeing these potential for the coastal flooding. High surf advisories also posted as you get a little farther south there into parts of Long Beach. So pretty rough go of it around the ocean waters. Here's a look at the rainfall. Some pretty impressive totals here, as Wednesday and Thursday will be the 2 wettest days that we're tracking easily for this week. We could be talking about easily 2 to almost 2.5, 3 inches of rain across the coastal regions, and easily closing in on about an inch of rainfall when it's all said and done here the next 2 days in even the Puget Sound lowlands. So timing out the rain for the rest of the next couple of days here. So we will continue to see wet weather all the way through the afternoon and right into the evening commuting hours. Some of it will be moderate to heavy at times. So again, just use some caution, drive for the conditions, especially as you're making your way home from work today. We'll see a little bit of a dry period early tomorrow morning. So I think the commute into work and school tomorrow morning won't be quite as bad as it was today. It's not going to be totally dry, but we will see some pockets of light rainfall, and then the rain really starts to ramp up with the arrival of that atmospheric river toward the afternoon. Some additional heavier downpours of rain will be possible, and we're going to continue to see some snow totals really piling up in the North Cascades. That's where we're going to see some of the highest snowfall totals. Tomorrow's forecast high temperatures: 53 in Seattle, will be a 57 in Yakima, 55 in Spokane. As soon as we get through Thursday, we are going to start ramping down those chances for rainfall. So just a couple of isolated pockets lingering for Friday. But all in all, the weekend is not looking too bad. We'll see some sun breaks on Saturday, dry still for Sunday, but a bit more cloud cover. Showers will start to return, some light showers by early next week. Monday and Tuesday, we could definitely see some winds picking right back up again with another system headed our direction by the middle of next week on Wednesday. All right, lots of weather to get to. We talked about the wind and the rain around the coastal regions, touched on the snow a little bit, but we will take a look at some of those winter storm warnings posted for the North Cascades coming up in the next hour or so when we're back with another weather update. Until then, we're going to take a short break, and Matthew Smith will have some more of the day's headlines. Stay with us.
Welcome back into the Fox Local Live Desk. Got a live look at Lumen Field right now. That is fitting because we are going to be talking about the Seattle Seahawks. They just introduced their newest wide receiver today. Rashid Shaheed stepped in front of the mics talking with folks. This is big news for the Seahawks. He's been an offensive weapon for the New Orleans Saints. They traded a 4th and 5th round pick right before the trade deadline expired so they could bring him into the fold. And today, well, he said he was excited.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of wide open opportunities. We get into a lot of play action and stuff like that, so I could stretch the field vertically. I feel like I could bring that into this offense, and just any type of explosiveness, I'm all here for it.
What's been your impression of Ben?
I haven't spent much time with him yet, but just going out the walkthrough, he seems like an energetic guy. Seems funny. Seems super relaxed. He has great control of the offense, and that's been on display throughout the season so far.
White out to white out. What do you anticipate it being like with JSN in the same meeting?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to team up with him. He's had a great year so far, a great career, and I'm just excited to be able to share the same field as well as the rest of this offense to come together and win some games.
Chris Olave obviously had a relationship with him from college, and so did you ask him about what to expect from Jackson coming to join him up here?
He said he's a super cool, chill dude. He just loves football and loves to play, loves to learn from others, and just loves to compete. And, you see that on every Sunday.
For Seahawks fans, you didn't watch a lot of Saints football the last 4 years. What kind of player are the Seahawks getting?
A guy with a lot of energy, a guy who loves to win, a guy who loves to compete. I can make plays on any level, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to win.
How do you look at your whole journey? I mean, playing at Weber State, not the most high-profile school in the world, probably,
right.
And then entering the league as an undrafted free agent and everything, and now you're, the 4 years in the NFL.
Right. It's been a great journey. I feel like I just continue to keep my head down and keep working, despite my not being coming out of college at top school. FCS guys kind of get overlooked, but I love being an example of you can make it from anywhere.
You've got an extensive track background, is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us more about
that? I come from a track family. Both my parents, mom and dad, and both sisters run track as well. So I was kind of born to run, I like to say. So, it's a big part of my game, and I try to focus on that as much as possible.
What were the events that you ran?
Sprints, 100, 200, 400, and relays.
Did you think about running in college?
No, I always knew I was going to be a football player. I just kind of used track to, help with football.
You were up here in Seattle not that long ago for a game. Didn't quite go the Saints' way.
Not at all.
What's it going to be like being on the other side?
It's going to be good. It's going to be good, man. I'm excited. Seeing from afar, it looks like a fun team, and it looks like everybody's super close, and it shows why you guys have had the success so far this season.
What were your impressions of the Seahawks defense, studying them for a week of film and then also playing against them?
Yeah, no, they were tough. They fly around. They make plays. They turn the ball over. They have a lot of weapons and a lot of guys you got to focus on. So it makes it tough for opposing offenses.
When you didn't get drafted, what were your goals? What did you expect?
I knew I was going to get opportunity at some point. I just didn't know where. I just knew I had to be ready for the opportunity, and I feel like I did a good job of that. And now I'm here, and I'm going to keep making it work.
What do you think, for you, what was the most important trait that overcame, okay, he wasn't drafted, or he was from Weber State, or what did you do? What was the success path for you?
I would say my mental toughness. Not being drafted, you could kind of get down and, kind of question, yourself and, not know what's next. But as long as you stay prepared and stay ready for the opportunity, you never know what could happen. And that's exactly what happened in my situation. I was just ready for it. And I took every opportunity that came to me. And, now I'm here.
Speaking of mental toughness, just what did you learn about yourself and the league when you got the injury and then you got yourself back playing?
Sorry, you ask that one more time.
Yeah, mental toughness, and talking about that. When you got the injury, what did you learn about yourself to get back and play?
Right. I learned that I can overcome anything. Injuries, they come in this league, but it's all about how you, get yourself back. There's a lot of ups and downs with this game. It comes with it. and you just got to realize that, and you got to stay down and stay around people that love you and care about you, and you'll be just fine.
Early last season, what did you learn about how your speed compared with what Chris was bringing and how defenses prepared for that, opened up stuff for Alvin and the run game?
Right, yeah, no, being able to stretch the field vertically, it opened up a ton. I feel like that's why we had so much success going on early on in last season. But yeah, just the ability for me and Chris to stretch the field vertically, it opened up so many different things. And yeah, no, that was kind of the name of our game on offense last year. So that's something that we focused on and something that we were able to kind of key point and, just execute it.
Is there a story behind the number? Why that's been your number?
Yeah, I worn it all growing up. It was my dad's number. Wore it at Pop Warner, high school, college, so why not wear it in the NFL?
You can be a free agent at the end of the year. Is that anything on your mind now as you come here, or are you just kind of worry about that later?
No, I'm here to stay. I'm here to stay, man. So I'm excited. We can figure something out after the offseason, or after the season ends. But yeah, I'm excited.
That is probably music to the ears to plenty of folks that are fans of the Seahawks. We're going to stick with sports here. Lane Lambert, Seattle Kraken head coach, talking before they face off with the San Jose Sharks tonight at 7 p.m. Happening earlier today, but this is our first chance to listen in to the coach speak.
In that direction as far as consistency?
Just that attention to detail in certain areas. Like I've always said, it's all the little things that make the difference between winning and losing. So, to understand what those are and to execute those things. I think we've done a pretty good job so far, but again, it's a progression and we got to continue to improve on certain areas, and that's what we'll do. But that's the consistency level that we need.
What was the first domino you had to knock down with this team to get it going in the direction you wanted to go to start things off?
I think just basically we changed the mindset of our hockey team, and I've talked about it quite a bit, just establishing a standard and an identity in which we want to play with, and that was the message right from day one, and the guys have done a really good job of embracing that.
Lane, I noticed you brought a new forward into the penalty kill mix last game in Jaden Schwartz. I know part of that was Maddie was in the box, but what was it that led to that decision for you, and how did you think he did?
I thought he did good. He's a veteran guy who can play a multiple different positions and scenarios, and with Freddie Goudreau being out, we're down centerman, or at least penalty killing centerman. Maddie gets a penalty, so now we've got to make some decisions. And Jaden, we've talked to him. He killed penalties well in exhibition season, so that was an easy decision for me.
And what are your directives to your forwards on the penalty kill units in terms of making reads and when deciding to take advantage offensively, or just get the puck out and stay in structure?
Well, there's a certain point in time, but it's very, very few and far between where you can, go offensively. Our objective is to kill the penalty, we still have to get better. We have to get better at clearing pucks.
Kraken currently sit at 6-2-4. They will take on the 4-6-3 Sharks tonight at 7 o'clock. They're just 1 point back from first place. Three-way tie for second, though. This division certainly looking good this year. We're going to stick with sports. Coming up next, let's take a look at what's going on with the Sounders from our sports team. The Sounders forcing a Game 3. Got a live look at Lumen Field. That is where they grabbed Game 2, winning 4-2. Now they'll be heading back to Minnesota for a win or go home game, seeing if they can advance in the MLS playoffs. I did mention we were going to be checking with our sports team. They were actually out talking with Coach, just got wind of this. So rather than recap Game 2, let's just check in with Brian Schmetzer. He just wrapped this up a couple of hours ago with crews out on the ground over at the practice facility, talking about what to expect in Game 3. So here's Brian Schmetzer speaking earlier today.
No. Look, he's getting his due recognition. We've known it for a long time. But look, we've had a lot of players. I mean, Steph's another one that, because he hasn't won a big trophy. Christian's, been in the hunt. He's been on the national team, went to a World Cup. So a couple of guys that have been really important to the club. And to Steph's credit, he's gotten some accolades as well. I mean, it's not like we're woe is me, but with Christian, I think it's been a breakout season in some respects. At the end of last year, when we moved him inside because of, I think it was JP, injury or just the way things shook out, he's really taken that role as a learning tool to get better, even at his age. There were certain things that he had to learn, improve on. I know Preki worked a lot with, the double pivots and, making sure they play as a tandem. So Christian's put the work in, and we're all seeing the fruits of the labor.
I don't want to say anyone here was necessarily skeptical of his ability to make that transition, but there had to be some doubts as to any time a player late in their career makes a position change that they're going to rise to be a best 11 type of talent. I guess, how would you describe your the way that he's met or exceeded your expectations?
I was one of the ones that liked him on the wing. I was the one that liked him out here. I mean, he won a lot of games for us playing out here, but there was a void. And there again, true to Christian, who he is, he's a smart guy, has all the physical tools. It kind of naturally made sense. I mean, normally you get forwards that go to center backs, or the odd, right winger, right midfielder going to right back or left back. You get some of those standard things. But yeah, it's a little bit more from coming outside to in. But he played at the UW inside, and he had some good starting points early on when Zig was still here. We'd always talk about, well, where's Christian's best position? So he had it in him.
When just to follow up on that, he had played in the middle for you guys too, but it was always when he was paired with a more defensive type. He was with Svensson or is with João Paulo or whoever else. His ability to transition into a real, like a real six, essentially, has to have been, what do you think is key to his ability to do that?
I think that, again, is just, the coaches sitting down with him, Christian loving a new challenge, lots of different reasons for that. It comes down to, again, he's just a smart soccer player. He understands what the team needs. He's not a selfish soccer player. He understands what the team needs. He knows that he can do the best job to help the group win doing these certain things, and that's what he does.
When he played in the wing,
all right, that's head coach Brian Schmetzer talking a little bit about Christian Roldan, and good news that they're going to be on the road for this game coming up on Saturday, because the field is getting drenched today. Now, we told you earlier in the day a little bit about what's going on with this change of how many flights are going to be going out. I want to remind you, we don't know if SeaTac will be affected, but we are asking you all how you feel. So before we head to the break, a reminder, scan this QR code and you can weigh in. Let us know how concerned you are about potential disruptions to your travel plans. Also drop us a comment and you may hear that read right here on the Fox Local Live Desk.
Hundreds of cars have come by today. They're filled with families who are hoping to stock up on some of the essential groceries. With the ongoing government shutdown and the pause on SNAP benefits, it's safe to say that many here in our region are struggling to put food on the table. But with the help of an organization like this and the many volunteers that you see behind me, they're making sure no one is going hungry as federal aid is stalled. From the crack of dawn, the line outside of the Tacoma Dome wrapped around the lot, cars full of families waiting for food.
We're having a very unusual situation in the United States, and I think a lot of people are very worried and very troubled.
This is Making a Difference Foundation's weekly food distribution. The nonprofit says they usually serve about 400 to 450 families, including Paul, a regular and the first in line.
It's been a great help to many people, and it has helped us out too.
But the line only continued to grow throughout the day, spilling onto the Tacoma Dome off-ramp from I-5, stalling traffic as volunteers stock somewhere between 800 to 900 families with chicken, fresh produce, bread, and water.
We're in a food crisis. People are feeling it. They're in need of food. 70% of the people here are literally the first time they've ever accessed food through a food bank.
Ernestine Wiggins is one of them, a great-grandmother raising 2 teenagers.
They eat you out of house and home. Every time I turn around, they in the kitchen eating. And they talk about shutting down the food stamps next month. They're gonna hurt us. That's because for me to go to the store and spend regular money, we can't do it. We can't afford it.
Between SNAP and WIC funds running out and higher grocery prices, many say their food benefits no longer last the entire month, forcing them to rely on emergency food distributions like this one.
It's going to help tremendously. SNAP's been cut. I'm on WIC, but it's still not even enough.
It's hard, and with the prices going up on everything, food stamps doesn't even go as far as it used to either. Things are more expensive. It takes more. So you might have what you think is a lot in food stamps, but really you have half that.
CEO and President Andrea Blue says the need is only growing by the hour. She had to call in reinforcements to get a second truckload of food. She says they're even delivering groceries directly to seniors and military families with the help of DoorDash and Amazon.
So we're using as many of our mechanisms as possible to get as much food out as possible. I'm asking people not to panic. We're going to be starting an emergency delivery system here in the next 48 hours.
While the line is long for families, it's a small price to pay for a meal.
So if I have to wait 3-4 hours, I will wait, because I'm not gonna sit with no empty cupboards.
But the reality is shelves are thinning out. The foundation has already dipped into its 1-month reserve with only 2 weeks left of food, but believes in the power of community.
Hey, I've got to see 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread multiplied. I am hopeful. I believe in the humanitarian of the human being in crisis like this. We always seem to rise to the occasion. So I'm feeling amazing at this point.
Welcome back into the Fox Local Live Desk. Ongoing coverage of this big story today. The FAA says they're going to be reducing flights at 40 different airports across the country by 10%. We still don't know how this is going to affect individual airports. So as we take a live look out there at SeaTac International Airport, I will let you know our newsroom did hear back from the airport. They said they were going to put the question to the FAA, noting that they manage the airspace, not the airport. But they did note at this point they have not seen impacts of flight delays at SEA. So maybe hopeful news that they will not be one of the 40 airports to reduce service. I just want to flash back. This is some of the live news conference that we carried with Transportation Secretary Duffy earlier today. If you weren't with us, here's what he had to say.
For today, it's level setting with the American people, doing the right thing by way of the American people, working with the airlines, and our heart, goes out to those who will have flights disrupted. But again, they want to make sure that the FAA team and their DOT team, when they fly, they are going to make it to their destination safely because we've done our work. We are doing our work. And this is what we feel like we have to do to make sure we maintain that safety profile. One last one.
What would you say to people who are frustrated this weekend? They might have a flight canceled or delayed. What would you tell them? Anyone who has my cell phone number, I'm called based on delays and cancellations. There is frustration, and I hear them, but I used to sit in Congress. I don't have any say or any role in what the Congress does with regard to funding. I've continually asked our controllers to come to work. I've thanked those who have come in and done the great work by way of the American people, and there's been a lot of them. Again, I've met a lot of family men and women who are single income families, and they're coming to work because they're patriotic Americans. If I can make one last note, though, and I mentioned this before, many of the controllers said they can survive without one paycheck. They can do that. They put a little money away. They have a little nest egg. They have a rainy day fund if the car breaks down or there's an unexpected expense. They can navigate losing one paycheck. They said almost all of them, virtually all of them, cannot navigate financially missing two paychecks.
That was Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy. Earlier today, we've been asking you, how concerned are you? More than half of you saying you are highly concerned about this new development. I do want to remind you, we'll actually be joining Congressman Marilyn Strickland in just a moment. That'll be coming up soon here on the Fox Local Live Desk. We'll ask her about the government shutdown and, of course, what's going on here. That's more news still to come here on the Fox Local Live Desk.
Well, the Huskies came back from their week off as a ranked team, number 24 in the most recent AP poll. They're looking to improve on that rank and hopefully impress the playoff committee in another road test, this time in Madison, Wisconsin. Known as one of the hardest places to play in all of college football, the environment at Camp Randall Stadium will no doubt challenge this Husky team. But this is a Wisconsin squad that has struggled all year. They are 0-5 in conference play and haven't won a game in almost 2 months. Their struggles start on the offensive side of the ball as they've been shut out in back-to-back home games and average just 12 points per contest. But they are much more competitive on the defensive side of the ball. Head coach Jed Fish is looking for a bounce-back performance on the road from his offense after putting up just 7 points against Michigan a few weeks ago.
We certainly understand the task at hand. We know that it is has always been one of the best defenses in college football in the Big Ten. We know we've got to be on our P's and Q's and be locked in and ready to roll.
Really executing at a high level. It really always comes back to that, not getting influenced by the outside circumstances. Wisconsin's good enough. We got to go out and execute against them and do a good job of blocking them and getting open and throwing the ball and all the things that it takes to win. Trying not to let some of the outside things influence us as best we can.
Not only will the Huskies be fighting the crowd noise, they'll also have to deal with the weather. Rain and near freezing temperatures are in the forecast for Saturday in Madison, so taking care of the ball will be key. One group that is looking forward to the challenge is Carver Willis and the offensive line, as the Dogs will most likely lean on them and Jonah Coleman on the ground.
The more your team relies on you, I think that's kind of what O-line's about. Cool, put it on us, we'll handle it. That's awesome. So you get more excited about we're gonna run the ball. Heck yeah, that's gonna be us. We'll manage that. So I don't know if it's getting mentally prepared as much as it is controlling excitement.
The Huskies come into this one looking to eclipse their win total from 1 year ago and improve to 7-2. And with a marquee matchup looming to end the regular season with number 6 Oregon, their playoff hopes are not dead yet. But it all starts with taking care of business on the road on Saturday in Madison. Kickoff set for 1:30 p.m. From Husky Stadium, Ethan McReynolds, Fox 13 Sports.
Welcome back into the Fox Local Live Desk. Got that live look for you outside. 59 degrees, cloudy, maybe an understatement. You got a live look out at the airport because we've been talking about it throughout the day. It is gray, it is wet. We'll probably be tracking some delays and cancellations just because of the weather conditions. We'll talk about everything else going on in just a little bit. But first up, I want to bring in Representative Marilyn Strickland. She's joining us live right now here on the Fox Local Live Desk. Representative, first and foremost, thanks so much for making yourself available to us today.
Great. Well, thanks for having me on, Matt. I am in Washington, D.C. in my office.
I didn't even get a chance to ask you yet where you were because we're kind of in that spot now where I don't know where our representatives are, if they're in D.C. or if they're back home, because y'all aren't able to go in and vote right now, right?
No, that's true. So today is day 36 of the Republican shutdown, and Congress has not been in session for 47 days. And what's remarkable about this is that, we've had government shutdowns before. This is the longest, but we could still be called into session and we can still do work. And the fact that we're not even in session doing work, I think, is pretty shameful. And we stand ready to have a conversation about how we save healthcare and lower costs. But my colleagues just don't seem interested in doing that.
Well, I did want to ask you about that because that is the part that, sometimes confuses us at home. We hear government shutdown. We hear folks aren't necessarily going into work. But you all would have the option, clearly, to try to be negotiating something right now, correct?
That is correct. And I want to make sure we go back to kind of the history of this conversation. So back in July, a bill was passed that would basically get rid of the Affordable Care Act premium that a lot of people depend on. It's going to gut Medicaid that a lot of families rely on. And then also, too, taking away those very important food benefits. And one of the things that some folks may not know, Matt, is that the people who use these programs are often people who are working, in addition to senior citizens, families with young children, and some of our veterans. And so these programs are so vitally important. And I will tell you honestly, food and healthcare should not be partisan issues. These should be things we can all get around together and say this is important for the American people. But unfortunately, the Republican shutdown is keeping us from even coming to the table together and figuring out how we move forward to save healthcare and food benefits.
And I saw you not too long ago talking about how this also could potentially affect WIC, just going one step further than even the SNAP that we've been talking about. I mean, this has been one of the biggest stories that we've been focused on lately, just because we know, even down in your district earlier today, I'm sure you know, Wednesday they hand out food every day. And people were mentioning this is kind of like looking back at the pandemic at this point. What are you hearing from constituents?
I'm hearing many things from constituents. Number one, they're very afraid of this climate of uncertainty, right? Am I going to get my benefits? Will I be able to keep my health care? Will I continue to get subsidies for these premiums that I pay for the Affordable Care Act? And to your point, I had a press conference last week when I was home in the district in East Tacoma, and this is for the Women, Infants, and Children program, where baby formula and food for newborns is supplied, along with diapers and other care for newborns. And these programs are so vitally important because, as you know, when we talk about your health, safety, and well-being, nutrition is foundational to that. And so people are very worried right now. You brought up the pandemic, Matt, and remember, during the pandemic, there were food boxes that were being distributed to families. And the need for food and food insecurity really hasn't abated since the pandemic. But on top of that, the shutdown and uncertainty of funding SNAP and funding WIC is just creating more fear and uncertainty for families.
Well, and I know that we were highlighting how important SNAP is. You mentioned healthcare as well. We all know a lot of this has to do with what's taking place with ACA tax credits. Republicans have pointed the finger and said, hey, we would open up the government if we would talk about this later. I'm sure there's a reason that Democrats don't want to do that, though. As we point fingers back and forth, what do you say to those who are accusing Democrats of causing the shutdown?
No, I mean, you know, it's very confusing because you get a lot of information, but I remind folks of a few things. Number one, the Republicans passed this bill back in July, and they control the House, they control the Senate, and they control the White House. And so it is their responsibility to say, okay, we want to come to the table, and Democrats want to have a bipartisan discussion. We stand at the ready. It's why we're in DC. And so let's have the conversation, but understand the American people want to protect their health care. And as you know, these premium subsidies that people are getting for the Affordable Care Act, they make health care affordable. These premiums are going to go up dramatically for Washingtonians and people in the 10th district. And so let's come together, understanding that healthcare is the center of our conversation. Let's lower costs. Let's save those premium subsidies, and let's make sure the American people continue to get access to healthcare. That's what, you know, that's a conversation that has to be had, and they don't seem interested in having that conversation.
I understand that there's been some reporting that President Trump said that the reason that Democrats saw some big wins with elections just one day ago was because of the government shutdown. Do you think there's a changing appetite for folks to come to the table? Do you think this stretches much longer? Because as you mentioned, this is now the longest government shutdown we've seen in U.S. history.
It is, Matt. It's been 46 days, and President Trump is right. The healthcare crisis that was created by the Republicans from that bill they passed in July is affecting everyone. And here's the important part. You know, I've heard the president say that he was going to slash programs that help Democrats or Democrat programs. Healthcare affects everyone, regardless of your political affiliation. Getting access to food assistance affects people regardless of their political affiliation. So I imagine what's happening now, Matt, is that Democrats and Republicans especially are hearing from the people in their districts saying, wait a minute, I want access to health care. I want to be able to afford health care. We need to have access to food. And so as this conversation continues and more people are affected by it, I think the president and my colleagues across the aisle are realizing this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This affects all Americans, and that's who we should be fighting for.
One last question about this shutdown. How different historically is this for you? I mean, I'm sure that everybody up on the Hill has their conversations about the shutdown from yesteryear, but this one just feels different. It seems so partisan. I guess they always are, but why is this one so different?
So I think what's different about this is that it is centered around the issue of healthcare and the issue of food benefits. And remember, I used to be the mayor of Tacoma. So when I was in the mayor's office, that was really the first time we talked about having a shutdown. And it really meant that local government had to think about, how we're going to help pay for things because we relied on federal funding for some programs. But this is different now. And you're right, it does feel hyper-partisan, but healthcare and food should not be partisan issues. So I think what's at stake right now is what is so different. And you're seeing Republicans begin to recognize that. I am hopeful that we will open government because shutting government down is not good for anyone. But the bigger structural issue, Matt, is why do we keep going from threat of shutdown to threat of shutdown? We need to have a 2-year budgeting process. We need to stick to it. We need to pass it. We need to check in on it after year 1 and not lurch from shutdown to shutdown crisis. It's irresponsible. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for national security. And it's terrible for federal workers who work so hard.
Let me ask you, because that is one of the things that I feel like we don't talk about enough in the news, is that this isn't normal. We don't actually have a budgeting process. We don't have a budget in place. These are all continuing resolutions.
Right.
Will more people like you step up and say the obvious part out loud, that there needs to be a budget? Because I can't run my household without a budget.
Exactly. You can't run a household without a budget. City government can't run without a budget. And so, yes, we're talking about averting shutdowns or opening government back up, but let's deal with the structural problem. Why is a continuing resolution to keep government open even normalized anymore? Let's all grow up. Let's figure out how we do this together, come up with an agenda, and let's budget in a responsible way that does not hurt federal workers, does not hurt the economy, and does not jeopardize national security.
Well, I know we had a chance to talk a little bit before we jumped on air together. The big breaking news that we had been covering earlier was the FAA talking about how we're going to see some reduced flights at 40 different U.S. airports. I want to stress, you mentioned you didn't want to panic anybody because we don't know if SeaTac International Airport will be involved. But boy, as we get further and further into this shutdown, I feel like it reminds us that those folks that are doing those integral jobs are still not getting paid. So what is your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, my reaction to all of this is what happens when you add more stress to a system that was already stressed to begin with. And even before the shutdown happened, Matt, we know that the FAA and air traffic controllers and TSA were already having challenges, but this just exacerbates it, not getting paid. I don't want to alarm anyone, and we do not know which 40 markets will be affected. And so until we get more specifics from the Department of Transportation about which airports will be affected, I just tell people, let's keep traveling, get to the airport well in advance. Please be smart about it. But also, too, let's show some gratitude for the workers who are doing everything they can to keep us safe.
And we have been asking people how concerned they are. As you said, don't panic. We don't know if SeaTac will be involved, but our viewers so far are saying they are highly concerned. I'm guessing partly because even if it's not our airport, it could be one we're traveling to. I just want to open it up here. Anything else that's on your mind for voters out there, for people that are constituents? What do you want them to be hearing from you right now?
Yeah, I would say what's important for people in the 10th Congressional District or just through the state of Washington is to understand that, I hate being hyper-partisan because I usually pride myself on being able to work across the aisle. But this Republican shutdown and their absolute refusal to come to the table to talk about health care and what we're going to do is just a strain on everyone. Again, federal workers, our military not getting paid, people who are working hard every day. And this discussion about healthcare and food security should not be a partisan issue. So, I asked my Republican colleagues, come to the table. We've been ready to talk about this for 36 days. This should not go on. And, we want to have a conversation. So let's act like adults and come to the table together and do this.
Representative Strickland, we do appreciate you making yourself available and having an open and detailed conversation about what's going on.
All right. Thanks so much, Matt, for having me on.
You're welcome. All right, we are going to take a short commercial break here on the Fox Local Live Desk. When we come back, we'll jump into more headlines from today. Welcome back into the Fox Local Live Desk. Once again, got that live look outside. Whether it is SeaTac or Capitol Hill, we are seeing those raindrops on the camera. Don't let that sun off in the distance fool you. It's still raining here in Seattle. I'm sure you guys can probably at this point just hear it on my microphone because I'm not far from a Skycam. I like to remind people we are right here in the middle of the newsroom and we are tracking everything as it happens. We do that because then I'm super close to everybody as news breaks here in the newsroom. So we just continue to move ahead even if the rain outside is a mess, and we will be hearing from meteorologist Alona McCauley in just a little bit. Just had a chance to talk live on the air with Representative Marilyn Strickland. We do appreciate her time as everybody else. I've seen a lot of our members of Congress jumping in and having conversations with us. In the meantime, want to talk a little bit about this Memorial Stadium overhaul. If you haven't been paying attention, maybe you live under a rock, you may not know that the grandstands were being removed today. This is on your screen here, a rendering of what the new Memorial Stadium will be. But this is a major milestone today, demolition of the old Memorial Stadium reaching its final stages. I actually want to show you some video that we had in our newsroom earlier in the day. So you see not a lot on the ground. A lot of that concrete, by the way, pretty cool story here. They tear down this old stadium and then they rebuild with some of the old concrete that they're breaking up as you get a zoom in and some of the heavy equipment there. Crews today were carefully removing the grandstand, making way for this new development that you see here on your screen. Now, we did have a chance to talk with the Seattle Center Director of Planning today, kind of walking us through what exactly was taking place. You're going to see in the background the little bit of the grandstand that was still left as he spoke with us. This is what was coming down today, but let's listen in to David Knolsman, the Seattle Center Director of Planning, explaining the importance of this project.
It's pretty exciting. We have been at this for a while, started in July on the demolition. As you can see behind me, we are down to one last column. So we've already taken down the stands on the south, and now we're doing the very sort of strategic job of bringing down the stands on the north, which as you can see are right next to McCaw Hall. So it's a big day. We've worked our way west. We've got one column to go, and it's about to come down.
All right, can we have a time that it might come down, or?
So we can't put an exact time on it, but our demolition crews are amazing, and they're thinking that it's going to be between now and 10 o'clock in the morning, so basically in the next hour. And as you can see, they've just got some structure up there that are going to start nibbling at and pull the thing forward.
And then after all this is done, what's happening here?
So it's actually happening already. So of course, this is the stadium has belonged to Seattle Public Schools. And so we're partnered with them and our partners at the One Roof Stadium Partnership. So we have designed and developed an amazing new facility, and the work's already underway. So while the demolition is happening, we're already doing the prep work for all the constructions that's going to follow. And the stadium will be something that it's kind of hard to vision right now, of course, looking at the site, but you can get a sense how big it is and also how open it's going to be. It's going to be very transparent, so you'll be able to see it from around the campus, and while you're in the stadium, you'll be able to see the rest of the campus.
All right, and so, and what company is working on this right now?
Yeah, Selin Construction is our great construction company, and their sub, as you can see, is Dickinson. So they are just doing a phenomenal job with the demolition here. And, you know, it's a very difficult one. As our superintendent would say, nobody's ever demolished something like this. It was a sizable structure, and of course, this is right against McCaw Hall. So we've had to be very meticulous to bring this down piece by piece.
And then, let's see. So you guys are building the new stadium. Where do you start? You start on, I mean, I'm sure at the ground level that you build up, but what is it going to look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question because it's really just a big puzzle, right? And so the stadium itself, the floor, the pitch where the athletes will play is roughly about the same place, but that's about the only thing that's going to be the same. We're raising the level here on the west side. We'll actually have a little more space that we'll be giving the public toward the fountain. and we'll be able to make a lot of public plazas and a lot of concourse areas that patrons who come to events here will be able to use.
Let's see. Am I missing anything you want to add?
Well, I just want to say we're so excited. We are starting construction, as I mentioned. We're going to be done by start of school in 27, so that is our goal. But patrons who swing by Seattle Center will be able to see the work coming out of the ground, and it'll really be transformative. So I think we're super excited about it. Again, it's going to be so different than the facility that's been here. You're going to be seated down in the pitch right next to the field level in a much more modern sports facility, and you're going to have some incredible views of things like the Space Needle and Mopar.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Yeah, pretty cool to see that taking place. I do want to let you know we are going to be coming up here on the desk taking a live look outside. We've been here in the rain. I've been letting you guys know. You're probably hearing that on my microphone as we're near the skylight. But we don't just want to give you a look outside. We also want to break down what is actually happening. Meteorologist Alon McCauley is going to join us on the other side of a break and give us some insight into what we're seeing outside.
Well, hi there, everyone. From the Fox Local Live Desk, I'm meteorologist Ilona McCauley. It is wet outside. Some of the heaviest rainfall that we have seen so far today, really just moving through parts of the downtown core as we speak. So the roadways are very bogged down with water. We got a lot of standing water. We're getting some reports of accidents now coming in. So just urging you to drive for the conditions, slow down, because we're going to continue to see a good bit of ponding as this heavy band of rainfall continues to move through. I do want to show you a live picture. We've got US 2 right now. This would be right around the Slough. So this is where, let's go to. So you can see this is where you're coming out of Everett, sort of where that road will split over to parts of Lake Stevens, or if you go off to the right, it would end up taking you into Snohomish. But you can see a pretty big backup of traffic there as well. A lot of folks just driving slow, taking it easy in this location. We did see some vehicles, some maintenance vehicles, maybe some emergency vehicles a short time ago. So likely, hopefully cleaned up an issue that was there, but still the backup is pretty good. And this is just one indication, just one example of how those roads are really looking around town today. Back out to the maps right now. Here's a live picture from downtown. So we continue to see a few breaks in those clouds there, but as we mentioned, some of the heaviest rainfall we have seen so far today, just finishing moving through the downtown core. Here's a look at the total rainfall since midnight, and we're not done yet. We've continued to see about 0.2 of an inch of rainfall up there around parts of Everett, about 1/4 of an inch or so at SeaTac International Airport. It has been coming down incredibly hard for most of the day from around Bremerton into Olympia and all the way out into parts of Shelton and the coastal region. So that's why some of those totals are a little higher, as you can see there. And we've got more to come through the afternoon and evening. So a live look at the Doppler radar, you can see that band of moderate to heavy rainfall continuing to work its way eastward. So this is going to be just moving into the Falls City locations, likely very close to the Woodinville area, likely starting to exit Kirkland, just kind of eyeballing the map here. So some of that heaviest rainfall is continuing to push it into the eastern areas and into the foothills, and still holding steady with some light rainfall behind it. We did have a few bolts there, some lightning strikes that you can see on that radar loop that did pick up around parts of Lake Bay and close to DuPont just about a half an hour or so ago. And we'll continue to see some instability into the evening hours as well. More of this out across the Pacific. You can see instability still over the water there off the coastline with some of those thunderstorms that you can see there. The main cold front that is associated with all of these still moving onshore and will continue to do so in the evening hours, which is why it's going to continue to be a pretty wet and blustery night, especially around the coastal regions. Want to show you a live look over Winthrop. So we earlier we talked about the coastal flood watches and warnings, but we're also focusing on some snow up in the higher elevations. We do have a winter storm warning posted for the highest elevations up there in the North Cascades. This is going to be all the way from Marblemont all the way to Mazama. So we're going to continue to see about 8 to 12 inches of snow, so up to a foot possible near Washington Pass. Mount Baker could easily be picking up 2+ feet of snow. In fact, as we look at the expected snowfall totals, look at up here at Mount Baker all the way through Friday. We could be closing in on 60 inches by the time it's all said and done with these systems moving through here. A couple of inches will be possible in some of the central Cascade passes through Stevens there, Snoqualmie and White Pass, as we watch for those snow levels to come down just a bit toward the end of the week. All right, so timing out the rain. Let's take a look at this through the night. We know that it is a mess outside right now. It will continue to be so for the evening commute home. We're going to continue to track another moderate to heavy band of rainfall by later this evening around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then continue to see scattered showers pretty much on and off for the remainder of the night. Tomorrow morning, we may get just enough of a dry break right close to the commuting hours in the morning time. So hopefully should be better trying to get into work and school tomorrow morning. And then things really start to fill in again from lunchtime onward. We'll be looking for a very similar day as what we were seeing today. Bands of those heavy to moderate to heavy downpours of rain, snow up in the higher elevations, as you can see by the time we get into late Thursday and into Friday. So for tomorrow, gusty downpours will be again possible in the lowlands, the foothills, up in the mountains, a wintry mix possible, even all the way over to central Washington, a cool, wet day, and some more thunderstorms will be possible across the coastal regions. However, by the time we get into the end of the week on Friday, a lot of this messy weather will be wrapping up. Fewer showers to close out the week on Friday and the school week there. And then finally setting us up for a fairly decent looking weekend. Saturday and Sunday, both looking dry, mostly cloudy for the Seahawks game on Sunday, and mild by standards. We're going to be looking for temperatures in those low 60s. The rain is going to start to slowly return by Monday, Tuesday, ramping up a bit more with some breezy conditions once again by the middle of next week on Wednesday. All right, we're going to continue to monitor the roads and the radar, keep you up to date on the coastal flooding situation as well. We'll have much more on the forecast as it's a pretty active day coming up, streaming right here on the Fox Local Live app. For now, we'll take a short break, and Matthew Smith will be back with some of the day's headlines. Stay tuned.
Welcome back into the Fox Local Live desk. Yeah, got another view for you outside. It is kind of masking what you see out there. You just heard from meteorologist Ilona McCauley that it is gray and messy out there. Really just kind of depends on which direction you're looking, what you are seeing right now. Do want to get to some other headlines today. We were with some of our viewers bringing you some live coverage from the National Transportation Safety Board earlier in the day. We have since gotten some updates on that deadly plane crash in Louisville that we were bringing you live coverage of this time one day ago. We now know at least 12 people died in that incident, and there is a concern that that number could still grow because there are a number of injuries. Remember, the NTSB not saying what caused it. We only know that that left wing of the plane and the engine area was on fire during takeoff as they were trying to get to Honolulu. Governor Andy Beshear speaking earlier in the day, obviously a tragic scenario for that governor, knowing the seriousness of this crash, not only for the people that were on board, but people that were on the ground unsuspecting when that plane exploded, causing numerous deaths.
I want to start by acknowledging the impressive work of so many fire departments that took what was a blazing inferno created by a plane with 38,000 gallons of fuel, of aviation fuel, and were able to contain it. It could have been significantly worse and have in fact gotten the situation to where the shelter in place is now so much smaller than anyone would have predicted it would be at this time. Really incredible work by the fire departments. I want to start with the Okolona Fire Department, the main department responding. They've done an incredible job. The Louisville Fire Department, the Louisville Airport Fire Department, Fern Creek Fire Department, Pleasure Ridge Park Fire Department, Fairdale, Anchorage Middletown, Jeffersontown, Zoneton, Mount Washington, Nichols, Lebanon Junction, Southeast Bullitt, LaGrange, Simpsonville, Lexington Fire Department, Bardstown, and Shepherdsville Fire Department. In addition, extra foam to fight the fire came from the Lexington Airport, from CVG, and from Bardstown. In total, over 50 trucks responded. Again, a surge of resources to respond to a very significant explosion and fire. But what that does is it means that all of those available resources are pushed to the site. But through careful planning and through more efforts, we made sure we backfilled the departments that were at the scene. So we want to thank the following fire departments for backfilling to make sure that everyone else was protected during the surge of resources. We want to thank the Vine Grove Fire Department, West Point, Simpsonville, Shelby County. I want to thank other first responders that include the Kentucky National Guard, Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, Louisville EMA, the Airport Police Department, Louisville Metro Police Department, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, St. Matthews Police Department, Shively Police Department, Kentucky State Police, Louisville Metro EMS, the Metro Sewer District, Louisville Gas and Electric, Kentucky Emergency Management, Kentucky Emergency Management Urban Search and Rescue Task Force 1, Kentucky ERC-ERT, the Jefferson County Emergency Management, the Jefferson County Coroner, the National Weather Service, the FBI, and there are more. There have been over 200 first responders that were on the scene last night, and there is a significant amount of resources in the search and rescue, and ultimately what is probably by now the recovery effort that is occurring. I want to thank everybody who was working overnight when it was dangerous, when there was other flammable or explosive materials, but they were searching to try to find any and all survivors and to locate any bodies to try to give families the closure that they deserve. As of this time, we can confirm that there have been 9 fatalities, but I'm now fairly confident that that number will grow by at least 1. We hope it doesn't grow by too many more. I believe by this afternoon we'll have a pretty good grasp of both the number of fatalities and, if there are any, the number of missing persons that we're still looking for. Remember, there's a Victim Family Reunification Center at the Louisville Metro Police Training Academy, which remains open. That address is 2911 Taylor Boulevard. As of last night, there had been 16 different families there. I think the mayor's providing an update where that number may now have shrank. At least information I'm getting is those families may not line up with the hospital patients, which means we've got to continue to search that site, hope and pray for the best, but know there may be more loss of life that we're going to learn about today. 2 businesses were directly impacted: Kentucky Petroleum Recycling and Grade A Auto Parts. Thankfully, a local restaurant that is right there that we had great concern would be impacted and we would lose whoever was in it, was missed and now is helping the search and rescue. We're grateful for them. Another blessing is this plane could have potentially hit the major Ford factory or the convention center. Those are all close by and did not. The radius for the shelter in place has been significantly reduced. Louisville Metro is putting out guidance to residents and businesses immediately around the crash site to not consume water. EEC, the Energy and Environment Cabinet, is working closely with the city on this. Other areas are safe. Now, if you are in the suburbs, if you're in other parts of Louisville, you are as safe today as you've been any other day. The air is fine, your water is fine, but that immediately around the crash site, we're just trying to be very careful. In new news today, following yesterday's events, I'm declaring a state of emergency to help us deal with this plane crash. It allows us to move resources more quickly through emergency management and the Kentucky National Guard. It allows state resources to be used also through our agencies to be readily available, including disaster resource management, expenses related to response, and more, as well as reimbursement. It's going to help to make sure that groups that are already limited in terms of their funding can get some immediate or short-term help as they wait for reimbursement for the costs that they've expended. Additionally, I've taken action to establish the Team Kentucky Emergency Relief Fund to help those affected by this terrible event. The URL for this site is going to be on the screen. Similar to previous storm disaster funds, every dollar donated will go directly to those affected. In fact, what we've done is we've gone and amended the Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund to now allow families impacted by a disaster like this to also benefit from the generosity of Kentuckians. Remember, the first thing that we pay for out of these funds are funerals, so that in a time of grief, nobody is worried about that. In Kentucky, we grieve together and we support one another. Donations will help pay for funerals and for response, recovery, and rebuilding. All right, while Kentucky is responding to this crisis in Louisville following yesterday's deadly plane crash, we must also remember the challenges that our families are facing due to a lack of SNAP benefits brought on by the Trump administration. This is a program that was under attack early by the president following the big, ugly bill. That's why in June I wrote a letter to Kentucky's congressional delegation urging them to consider the harmful impacts of this legislation and how it would hit our people, because SNAP is crucial for Kentucky. In our Commonwealth, over 600,000 Kentuckians rely on SNAP. That's 1 of 8 of our people, many of which are kids. These families need this support to avoid going hungry. But on October 1st, the federal shutdown began, and this now, today, marks the longest shutdown in the history of our country. From the start of the shutdown, the president made it clear that this program would be at risk. In fact, the Trump administration stopped the federal government from paying out SNAP benefits for November and also stopped states from flowing state funds through SNAP to pay out those benefits. And that's despite the USDA's website saying that he could fund SNAP benefits even in a shutdown. Americans should never be a negotiating tool. And I am committed to taking action to do what we can to stand up for our people. So on October 20th, I announced that while we were exploring options for SNAP, we had 2 updates that would help many who rely on this program. First, after learning our area development districts had exhausted the nearly $10 million in funding for senior meals, I announced that we were able to move $9.1 million to help fund that program. It took a lot of work to find a solution. Thankfully, we did, and the General Assembly leadership agreed to move forward with that plan. That day, I also announced that for November during the shutdown, that we could cover the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF program, that the federal government was not going to fund. That was about $12 million that's helping our people, many of which also get SNAP benefits. Following that update on October 24th, we received a letter from the USDA confirming what had already been threatened. The letter said it was suspending all November 2025 benefit payments for SNAP for approximately 42 million Americans that rely on them, and that the suspension would continue until sufficient federal funding was provided. Let me be clear. The president has both the funding and the authority.
All right, so as Governor Andy Beshear starts talking about a couple of other things, I'll just kind of react to the SNAP benefits, because we do have numbers here in Washington. We were just talking about some of this with Representative Strickland. 900,000 plus Washington residents received benefits from SNAP last year. 53% of those folks have families with kids, and we of course will continue to track the latest on that. Meanwhile, talking about what's going on with the airports, the big news that we covered earlier today was just the idea of what happens moving forward. We just heard that the government shutdown is going to cause 40 U.S. airports to drop at least 10% of their flights starting later on this weekend. That, of course, is huge news. We do not know if SeaTac International Airport will be affected. We did hear from the airport that while they don't control the airspace, so any information on if they would be included would actually come from the FAA. We understand that the FAA began notifying airlines, and then they're going to release a list tomorrow. So we did attempt to get some more updated information, but they said they have not been impacted so far by staffing issues. So maybe there's some hope that that won't be a concern for folks here locally. And then just to update something else in terms of airports, since we were just talking about that deadly explosion there out in Louisville, I want to wrap up some of our coverage on that. We now know that the death toll has since actually increased. We now know a total of 12 people have died and that there are more people injured. I know Governor Beshear had mentioned that there was some level of hope that perhaps we would see something different, that we would see only 10 or 11 dead because they already knew of 9 earlier this morning when he first gave those comments. Unfortunately, we were not that lucky. Things have taken a turn for the worst, and at least 12 people have died. That includes the 3 crew members aboard that UPS flight that was going to be going all the way to Hawaii. If you haven't been paying attention to this, part of the reason this was so deadly, the debris field was roughly a half-mile long out there in Louisville. And I do want to also wrap things up by saying thank you to all of our viewers that kind of weighed in. We did have that question for you earlier today, so we'll just give you one final look at what some of your fellow viewers were saying as to whether they were concerned about disruptions with travel plans as the government announces they will be reducing flights at a number of airports. 51% of you say you are highly concerned. About 1 out of 3 of you say you're not concerned at all. But again, even if this doesn't affect SeaTac International Airport, we know this will affect many airports, 40, and we hope to have more information soon, but we know by at a minimum tomorrow we will know if this will affect us here locally. That's going to do it for us here on the Fox Local Live Desk. As always, I remind you, if you're watching us on Fox 13 Plus and you want more news, weather, and sports, head on over to Fox 13. Next, we'll hand you off in just 3 minutes to Seattle News Tonight with David Rose, Hannah Kim, and Sabir Rayford. That'll do it for me. Thanks so much, everybody, for stopping by. We, of course, will see you next time.
does not hurt the economy, and does not jeopardize national security.
Well, I know we had a chance to talk a little bit before we jumped on air together. The big breaking news that we had been covering earlier.
There are apps out there that you can find that will do this also, but one thing that has become so easy is ChatGPT, and it's, you know, pretty much at our fingertips, right?
Ballots are being counted, and we're tracking where